All right, welcome back to Sherry's Crocheted Happiness. Welcome to my closet. I am showing my quarantine project that I did. I was in a Granny Square exchange a couple years ago, actually, and every month for the entire year, we would get 3 names and we would send 3 Granny Squares to that person, to 3 different people. And then in exchange, we would get 3 Granny Squares back. So the majority of these, I don't know if you can see them, are from the Granny Square exchange. And they have just been sitting in a basket in my closet. And then I started seeing all of these posts about the Granny Square jacket that was on This Is Us, being one of my favorite shows. And I know that the one that Rebecca is wearing is all color coordinated and is a really awesome Granny Square. But I thought, what the heck? I have all those Granny Squares. I really don't want to blanket, so I'm going to put them together in a jacket. And voila. So I did have to make some Granny Squares. Like, I think I made anyone that's like this pattern, I for sure made to add to have the right number of squares, because I think I needed 64 for this pattern. Of course, I had to do a black and orange and white one, not only for my high school colors, but for my son's, one of my youngest son's school colors. And as I was putting this together, I realized that this square must have been from like October, and convenient next to the black and orange and white, because it's got skulls. And when I was first putting it together, I didn't realize, and maybe I realized when I first got it, but when it was just sitting there in the pile of Granny Squares, I didn't realize it until I put it on, and I was like, oh my gosh, those are skulls. I'm so glad that that is in the front where I can see it, because I intentionally placed this little owl in the front and this flower in the front because I liked the way those looked. And over here the same, this little heart and flower, and then on my shoulder, which you can't really see, is a flower, and then on the back is a 4-leaf clover. So you saw when I first put it on, when I first started this video, I have a hood on here as well, and it says all totally Granny Squares. Sorry, my video is wonky, not good at this. There we go. So that was probably July 1 for the 4th of July. There's quite a few red, white, and blue ones on here, which I love. And I guess I can't really show you the back too well, but so what I did was I went online onto Pinterest and I found a pattern that looked pretty easy to do. And I first went around each one of the squares with just a single crochet, just as an outline. And then the pattern told me how many to do for the front. So like 5 down and 2 over was the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 over. And same on this side. And then the back was 5 down and 4 over. And then each of the sleeves was, I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4 down. Anyways, and then the hood was the same thing. It was like 3 across by 2 rows. And so you can see my sleeves are a bit long. That would be the only thing that I would have changed on this, is maybe I wouldn't have gone, see how long that is. I think for this, maybe because my arms are short, or I don't know, I probably would not have put this extra row on here. I probably would have just did like a band on there, the border, and I would have just done the border to the thickness that I wanted, because there is my wrist right there. So my wrist isn't far beyond where this last Granny Square is. So I probably, if I were to do this again, or if you were to do one, just keep that in mind. I've done one other jacket, and it wasn't for myself, so I really didn't have a gauge as to how big or how long I needed the sleeves. But anyways, if you do one, maybe even trying the sleeve on and seeing how far down it needs to go before you put in that extra work to put in those extra sleeves. And then sewing it all together was pretty easy. My stitches on the outside, you can see, you can probably do a different stitch so that it doesn't have that little bump on there for this seam, but I'm loving this jacket. I'm sure that my husband is going to think it's too hippie-ish, but I am really super loving it, and I am so happy with the way that this turned out. And I even have some colors. I don't know if you can see that peach and teal right there. I made that square. Those were my wedding colors, so got a little bit of that in there too. There's one more somewhere else that's got some peach and teal, maybe right here. But it is so fun. Every color, and I don't know, I think that it goes together pretty well. I'm just really super excited about the way this jacket turned out, blanket turned out. It's not a blanket, it's a jacket. I'm so excited the way it turned out. Of course, our weather here is getting a little bit warmer, so I will I'll wear it just because right now. And I think that I might add a button or two on here just to have a little bit of a closure, but it's actually staying together. And I'm a pocket person, so that's the only thing I might be missing. But if I was to put a pocket on here somewhere, I'd mess up these awesome squares. But if you didn't have a really cool skull granny square right where a pocket might go, you might make another granny square and stick it right on there, and then you'd have a pocket. But super excited the way this guy turned out. So if you have some granny squares laying around, or you want to use up some of your yarn, because a granny square is a great way to use up yarn, especially if you do a pattern like this guy down here where you can just do one color and then change and change and change until, like this guy over here, I think someone sent this one to me, and it has a variety of colors in there. There's even like a little blue spot in there because they probably ran out of that other color and they just needed to finish it off. So it's a great way to use up some yarn and to get a great blanket in the process. See, here's another one that's just using up some yarn. So go out there and get crocheting on some, well, don't go anywhere, stay home and use up that yarn that you have sitting around, and get yourself either a granny square blanket or a granny square jacket. I suppose you could even do it as a vest if you didn't like sleeves. It seems like these things are kind of coming back in style, and you could do it like this, or you could do it so that it's very color coordinated and every square is the same. The pattern I used was from the 70s, and every square was the same all the way down and all the way around, and it was very uniform, very cute. But I just am loving this guy. So thanks for checking in. Everybody stay healthy out there, stay home, and keep crocheting. I'll see you guys pretty soon. Thanks. Bye. That sounded like I was hanging up from a phone, didn't it? Sorry. Anyways, stay healthy.